Hi, it's Gretta. Are you struggling with anxiety, trust issues, or sleepless nights after being ghosted? If so, you could be experiencing post-betrayal syndrome, the emotional and physical aftermath of betrayal. As a certified post-betrayal transformation coach, I created Heal and Move On After Ghosting, a powerful new program to help you reclaim your life. Together, we'll work through a proven framework to rebuild your confidence, trust, and emotional well-being. Visit copingwithghosting.com/group or click the link in the show notes to reserve your spot. And I can't wait to work with you.
'Cause you ghosted me. I can't believe you're just a memory. Oh, why did you have to leave?
Welcome to Coping with Ghosting, the podcast that provides hope, healing, and understanding for anyone who's been ghosted. I'm your host, Greta, and this show's all about opening up, connecting, and deepening relationships after being ghosted. And my guest is Topaz Adizes, an Emmy award-winning writer, director, and experienced design architect. He is an Edmund Hillary Fellow and a Sundance Skoll Stories of Change Fellow. His works have been selected to Cannes, Sundance, IDFA, and South by Southwest, featured in New Yorker magazine, Vanity Fair, and the New York Times, and have garnered an Emmy for new approaches to documentary and 2 World Press Photo Awards for immersive storytelling and interactive documentary. He is currently the founder and executive director of the experience design studio, The Skin Deep. Topaz, I'm honored to have you on my show.
Oh, Greta, thanks. It's good to be here. Thanks for having me.
So I'm pretty sure many of my listeners are familiar with your work, and I'd love for them to get to know you on a deeper level. And as we know, being ghosted can take a huge toll on our mental health. So could you please share a little bit about your experiences with mental health challenges, how you've addressed them, and how they've helped you improve your relationships?
Wow, that's a good one. That's a big one. So when you say mental health challenges, you mean how has my dating life affected my being, or other mental health issues like depression, or what type of mental health would you like to explore?
Depression is a really good place to start. Any mental health issues related to or surrounding dating as well?
Mm. Well, I mean, I met my current partner, who I have 2 children with, my wife, when I was 42. And that was after living in New York for 18 years. And, the impetus for starting the Skin Deep came out of dating, and living in New York. And I had a brother who's 16 years younger than I, and I saw how he was also single and how we just dated differently because his relationship to technology was so much different than mine. And I don't know what the dating world is like now because I've been with my partner for 6 years now. But starting the Skin Deep was really because I noticed how we were relating to one another, how we were finding the experience of love, of deeper intimacy with other people differently. My brother was 16 years, how he was doing it differently. So for me, that's what started the Skin Deep. I just saw how we were dating differently, or how we're engaging differently. And I was actually had a conversation, which I think you'd find this interesting, that really struck me. I was working on a script that I was writing, and I happened to be in some cabin in Idaho, and it was the winter time. And I just was dating a woman, and she was in Brooklyn, and we were texting each other. And she said, Topaz, because I ended a lot of my texts not with love. And she said, so when you say the word love, do you mean that in like the English way, how they use that vernacular of like love you, like flippantly, or do you really mean love? And I read that and I said, okay, we need to have a conversation. I need to call this person. Like if it was, we need to have a conversation. We're dating for about 6 weeks at that point. So we called, and I called her. I mean, if I was in Brooklyn at the time, I would have gone, we would have met, but I called her up. We chatted for an hour about our relationships, our feelings, where we were at, what we, and at the end, she just said, thank you so much for calling me up and conversing, because, I had met her on a dating app. She said, all the other relationships I've been in recently, all the intimate conversations that we've been having were over text, if at all.
Yeah.
Right. And what struck me the most about that was not that comment, but was the comment that we were only 5 years apart. I was 36. She was 31. And I thought, wow, because for me, it felt like it's good to have conversations about this stuff. Now, I'm not going to say that I haven't ghosted someone in my early 20s. And, yes, I have. And it's great listening to some of your podcast episodes, because it gave me greater clarity about possibly why I was ghosting. We could talk about that too. And obviously I've been ghosted, right? But I just saw how, 11 years ago, that's when we started the Skin Deep, how our relationships were shifting in lieu of the technology that was in our fingertips, and how we were conversing with each other differently, how we were connecting with each other differently, and more importantly, how are you connecting with yourself differently? And that's really the impetus for creating the experience design studio, the Skin Deep, which then, the and is our most successful kind of flagship experience, which is the card games and questions and the video series. And so, that in the dating world, like, I've had the challenges. We can talk more about that. I had one experience I remember where I got ghosted, and I was sitting in the subway and I was really depressed. And it was a Saturday morning, and it was clear that I'd been ghosted. And I was like, and I was in the subway and I was depressed, and I was heading to Central Park to meet some friends. And then this kind of voice came and said, Topaz, you're going to be depressed. You're giving this other person so much power, and it's going to ruin your day today, and it's going to ruin your next week. What are you getting from it? And there's something that I got from being a victim. There was something I got, victim. I don't think that's the right word, but putting your own self-esteem, for many of my 20s, 30s, I put my own self-esteem in someone else's hands. And when they responded to me positively, I was like overjoyed and high. I think I'm like the anxious attachment pattern, but I also had the avoidance one, because when they would stop, turn around, and love on me, I would avoid and run away. And so there was that constant interplay. And I remember being on the subway, I said, Topaz, what's the question you're going to ask yourself now? Are you going to ask yourself why she ghosted you? Or are you going to ask yourself, what are you going to take away from this for the next relationship? And that immediately gave me a different answer, which put me in a more positive mindset. And was like, okay, I'm going to learn from that relationship. I'm going to move on to the next opportunity.
Wow.
There's one story.
Thank you for sharing that. And wow, I think a lot of listeners are probably really relating. I think most people who are listening to this have been ghosted, and they're like, okay, now what? What am I going to do? How am I going to reflect on this relationship and learn from it?
I mean, I have, another big moment was I was, a lot of my 20s and early 30s, I was definitely chasing, I won't say the wrong kind of partners, but the partners that gave me a lot of a high, a sense of love when they responded, but were also avoided. And I was always chasing them. And I had a neighbor who was an amazing older woman, slightly older than me, but she was a mother of two and married. And she said, very amazing, Anitra, and she said, Topaz, the reason that you're loving them while you chase them is because if they stopped, turned around, and loved on you, you'd run away. So I'll say it again. The reason you're loving chasing them is because you're scared if they stop and they love on you, you're going to run away. And that was such a clear hit for me that, like, oh my God, I obviously have an issue with intimacy, and that's where I need to focus my attention. And obviously it comes from childhood and such. But that was a huge shift that I was like, you know what? I'm not going to keep chasing this. I'm not going to continue this pattern, because I was very attracted to that partner who would reinforce that pattern, because that's a pattern I got high off of. Chasing after, for them to turn around, love on me, and feel like I accomplished something, but then I would run away. So I
Yeah.
wasn't really finding that. And it did take me a long time. Again, it said meeting my partner at 42 is as much about me being developing myself as it is about the luck and joy and coincidence of finally finding that person. Right.
Mhm.
And God knows I had met many partners before that could have been great partners, but I wasn't really that partner ready for that at that time because I was, yeah, because of the patterns internally of the way that I would attachment styles that I have and whatnot, or the way that I searched for intimacy and was fearful of intimacy.
And what did you do to make that shift within? Did you go seek external help, like a therapist, coach, counselor, that type of thing?
Such a long story. It's such I think I did a lot of everything. There was a quickening in the 6 months before I met my partner. And by that I mean it's almost like I went through a series of different experiences that were challenges for me, but I was in a space where I was conscientious of the challenges I was facing and how I was behaving and reacting to them. This goes from having an experience at Burning Man to then going off to marrying your best friend and being the pastor at your best friend's wedding to his wife and seeing that love and being in the center of that vortex and holding that space to then having an old lover come back who rejected you, but now comes back and wants to be with you. And how do you handle that? To then facing almost my company dying and having to let people go, to literally the next morning facing my father being in the ER. And it was a series of incredible rapid tests. But I was in a place, and this is 6 months before I met my partner, but I was in a place of very much conscientiousness of how I was reacting and being in those spaces.
Mhm.
And a key motto that I was carrying in that time was as a mask, if you believe in the polarity, if you buy into the masculine energy and feminine energy, which for me was an artifice and architecture of understanding that works for me as a masculine energy was your job is not to search. It's to find yourself rooted in the earth. So don't go chasing out after these other energies, and trying to, no, you ground yourself. And then the feminine energy, which moves differently than masculine energy, will find itself on you. It's like pollen that flies through in springtime and fall, right? Springtime is the pollen's out and it lands on a stalk.
Mhm.
And then there's a connection that happens and, okay, I'm the stalk, like the stalk of the tree, of the rose, of the flower, right? Ground myself and have the faith that the feminine energy will come along and will attach. But the question is, am I grounding myself? And more importantly, in the practice of getting to that place of relationship along the way, I mean, practice means you have a relationship with someone, you have another one, you have another one. How am I practicing the dance of that relationship? How am I showing up? Now, if they ghost me, they disappear. Okay. What can I learn from that? Not why do they ghost me? What can I learn from that? And so how am I showing up? How am I dancing in the space of relationships? Am I improving the way I dance? Am I improving the way I am being in the space of relationship? And at some point, I'll get to a point where it's clear to me what my space is, what my boundaries are, what I'm looking for, how I'm being in it. And then the right person will enter that space and I'll have faith that that will happen. That's kind of been a little bit of my story.
Wow. I was getting chills from that. That was really powerful.
Thank you.
Yeah. And I just, as a follow-up to that, how did you end up meeting your wife?
In the most unexpected places.
Mhm.
And that's what's just reminder that it's, our brains are built to protect, but your heart is built to connect. Your brain is built to protect. Your heart is built to connect. Faith is an empowerment vehicle for the heart, not for the brain, because the brain doesn't believe in faith. That's a leap of faith. Are you crazy?
Mhm.
And for me, I had been looking with my brain for so many years for a partner because I'm a romanticist. I mean, one of my earliest dreams as a child was loving my soulmate. And I would have dreams and feel it as a 4, 5, 6 year old. You know, it would come in the form of a bee or a bird or a person I couldn't see their face, but I knew what that love was like. And then I forgot about it. And then I only started remembering in the last few years. And I had always been looking for that subconsciously and for that partner. And you have that list. Do they hit the list and whatever? But I also wanted a divine partnership, something that was really like in coherence with something that was beyond my mind. It was in my heart. And for that to happen, I had to have faith that the universe would present it when it was the right time. So the question wasn't what if I was going to meet them. The question is, how am I preparing myself and practicing so that I'm in a place to fully have this experience with the other soul that life will bring to me or present to me? And that's basically was my growth pattern. So that was part of like having the faith. Like I don't need to go out and look for it. I need to ground myself in the space as a masculine energy. As a feminine energy, if you buy into that, I think that's a different energy, right? And I'm not talking about men or women, I'm talking about energies. Like you can be a genders of, yeah. So I'll stop there. But look, I met her randomly in a place that I avoided, which was Guadalajara, Mexico. I didn't like the name of Guadalajara. I've lived in Mexico City. I traveled through Mexico. I never went to Guadalajara, Mexico. I ended up going there. My friend said, "Oh, when you go there, you got to meet these 3 people." So I met the first 2. I almost forgot about the third. Oh, wait, there's this other third person. Let me go visit them. And that turned out to be my wife. And I never expected to meet her in that place. But the point was I was prepared. I was well practiced. And the universe presented itself to me.
That's such a beautiful story. I really love it. And I know my listeners are going to get a lot out of that. I haven't really addressed that on my podcast ever. So thank you.
I mean, can I give one thing, which is the flip side of ghosting? We can go back to that. But
yeah,
look, this has worked for me 3 times. And what has worked for me? It's writing a list. And everyone now says, "Oh, yeah, I've heard about that, writing a list." The key is not about writing the list, although you have to do it. What's key is the emotional state you're in when you write the list. And that's what people miss. The emotional state you're in when you write the list. Yes, you need to. This has happened for me 3 times. The first time, and what I mean by emotional state is it's not what you want, because what you want means you don't have it. It's what you see. It's like what you see with your third eye. So when you're in that emotional state where you just know, you're like, I know it. The vortex opens, the space opens, whatever it is, and you just feel that confidence. You're like, I see it and I know it. My whole body. It's not like I want it to happen. And when you want it to happen or desire it to happen, you're desiring something that you don't have. Right? It's like if I ask you to describe what you see behind me, you're going to be a lot more confident doing it. Right? If I ask you to describe what's in, behind the camera that you have no idea, you're just going to guess, and you're going to be in a different emotional state. So when you see a moment of clarity and you're like, I see what it is, write the list in that space. And when you write the list, you want to write 3 things down. 1, how you feel. Sorry, that's the last thing. The first one is what is present. What is present in the relationship? What is present in the other person, right? What is not present? What is not present? And the third thing is, how do you feel in the relationship? And you write as clarity. You're not saying what you want or what you don't. You're saying, what do you see? What do you see with your full intuition, with your full knowledge, with your third eye, if you will? And you write that long list. Just describe it. And then you put it aside and you relax. And you be present to the moment, and the universe will bring it to you. I know it sounds ridiculous, but it happened to me 3 times. The first time I wrote, what is present? Boom. And the person showed up and it was amazing. But what I did not write, what was not present. And then I wrote the list, what is present and what's not present. And then the person showed up and it was amazing. But then I forgot to write, how do I feel? And I felt like I was walking on eggshells. So then the third time I wrote, what is present, what's not present, and how do I feel? And 3 months later, boom, I'm telling you, I met my partner.
That's such a great exercise. And I wonder how, when you met your partner, how asking the right questions helped you deepen your relationship.
Okay, so for the last 11 years, if you know which is the video series that we've been doing for 11 years now, over 1,250 pairs have come into a room of all kinds of relationships, not just romantic or dating, but also best friends and family. And they'll sit across from each other and they'll ask each other questions that we give them. And we film with 3 cameras, and then we present to the audience where you can always see both people talking. And what it basically does is it illuminates the space between. It illuminates the and. The and is, a relationship is you and I, us, and them. It's the and that connects us. So it illuminates that. For doing that for 11 years and witnessing so many conversations, you get to learn how to create the space to have a cathartic conversation and how to construct really good questions. And so that's why you're asking me that, right? Like, what questions did I ask my partner? And I think what's interesting is like the question I asked myself, or the awareness I had in finding that partner, which was, regardless of how this ends or doesn't end or whatever it is or wherever it goes, I'm ready and down to learn the lesson. Like, I don't know where this script was go. I don't know how this script is written, but I'm so intrigued and I'm so ready to learn the lesson, even if this thing crashes and burns, because I've never been on this roller coaster before. And I'm going to discover different parts of myself on this roller coaster. Because there's other roller coasters that I've been on all the time. And sometimes you meet someone and you're like, I know exactly how this is going to go. You have a sense like, I know this pattern. This pattern is, there's a seduction, there's this and that, and then there's avoidance, or there's anxiety, or this, and it's over. And it's like, and I know what that roller coaster is like. And when I met my partner, this was a roller coaster I'd never been on. And even though it's a roller coaster and sometimes it's up and down and da-da-da, it's like, this one, I don't know where it ends. And I'm really excited to be on one that I don't know how it goes, because I know I'm going to learn from it. What's the take-home lesson? Is don't confound safety with comfort. Okay? Safety and comfort are not necessarily the same thing. Safety is essential, but you can be uncomfortable and still be safe. If you're on a roller coaster, in theory, you are safe because they've tested that thing out. Engineers have looked at it. They've had thousands of people be on it. It's checked all the time. So you're safe. You're not going to fly out, but you're uncomfortable because you're going up and down and flipping around. So in theory, let's just not confuse. Just because you're uncomfortable does not mean you're not safe. And I mean, let me be clear, there are toxic relationships. Sometimes people think they're safe, but they're not. So being clear what safety means to you and what that is essential, but not always to confuse comfort, safety. Sometimes and oftentimes safety is essential, but being uncomfortable in a safe place is excellent, because that means you're growing.
Yeah. And that goes back to the list of, how do you want to feel? What feels good to you? What do you need? What are your desires? Yeah.
And also that it's just not forever, because forever is a long time, and we change a lot. They change a lot. The world changes a lot, and you have a right to change your mind.
Yeah.
Right. We're like, oftentimes this forever thing is antithetical to what is real about life, which is things change. So this is, so giving things kind of like a frame of mind of, this is my partner for this journey that we're on. And it's either going to end in us separating. It's either going to end in one of us dying, or maybe not, or who knows. But I'm invested in this journey as it is now. And I don't know where it's going to go per se, but I know what I'm invested in, and I know the direction that I'm investing in.
What is the difference between just feeling connected to someone and having a deeper, more meaningful connection?
What is the difference between feeling connected to someone and having more deeper connection? Wow. That's really good. Thank you for that question. Thank you for that beautiful opportunity to share that. That's really nice, because thank you so much. We hear so much about connection. It's like out there. It's almost as used as love. I mean, love is But love is not the same emotion as it used to be. And just think about technology. I mean, our parents or our grandparents used to call each other or write letters to each other. And they would wait 3 weeks after they sent the letter to get a response if their partner was away or at war or who knows what. Right? Now you send a message and it's like instantaneous. Right? When you're dating back in the day, you would meet your partner in physical proximity. It had to be physical proximity. You would meet your partner or you would be dating on people that either you met through friends, you met at church, you met at work, you met at the supermarket. You had to physically run into them. Now you can explore digitally, and the physical proximity is not as necessary as it used to be. You could find other people and other experiences and other explorations, and that's almost a superpower. That makes us feel connected, but does it give us deeper connection? And deeper connection is not necessary to physical proximity, but it's the way that we engage with each other when we are in conversation, when we are in connection. And bottom line is, are you sitting in the space of discomfort so that you can explore one another? Right? It's not about the answers. It's about sitting in the questions. Okay, I just threw 2 things. I didn't really connect them, but I just want to give that take home was like a calculation. You hear Esther Perel, which I'm sure a lot of your audience knows because she's incredible, does great work, written, wonderful books and does great things. And a leader in the space. She says the quality of your life is commensurate to the quality of your relationships. Okay, so the quality of relationships, the better relationships, the better my quality of life. I believe that. It makes sense to me. Great. Well, how do we have quality relationships? Well, one way is quality conversations, right? There's a few other ways of access, but one way as humans is we have this ability to put words to ideas and emotions and have conversations. Mm-hmm. Okay, great. So then how do you have quality conversations? And that's where we come in because we've been having over 1,250 of them in the last 11 years in 10 countries of all kinds. And it's about creating the space and well-constructed questions. So if you create the space, you have well-constructed questions, you will have these incredible conversations. If you have these incredible conversations, you have deeper relationships. If you have deeper relationships, you'll amplify and have a deeper quality of life. Okay, so you're asking about connection and deeper relationships, conversations. What are the conversations you're having? Now, if you're asking the same question over and over again when you're dating, you're going to get the same answers. It's almost like a rhythm. Here's a very simple take home. Watch this. You're on a date and you have your go-to question, or they have their go-to question, like, what are you looking for in your next relationship? Okay, so you go on 5 dates and the 5 people ask you, what are you looking for in your next relationship? You're going to answer the same thing, right? If your mom asks you, what do you want looking at your next relationship? This is what I'm looking for, same thing. So that question does not acknowledge the person who you're in conversation with. If you just tweak it and make it a connective question means that it acknowledges who's in the conversation. So you'd say, what do you think we're both looking for in our next relationship? What do you think is the common thing that you and I both are looking for, that we share in what we're looking for in the next relationship? You go on 5 dates, you're going to get 5 different answers because I have to take you into account for the person asking the question and giving you the answer. If your mom asks you that, you're like, oh, well, now I have to think about what are my mom and I both looking for? What value do we both share when we're looking at our next relationship? So just making the question connected, what acknowledges the unique moment, the unique conversation that you're having with the other person. Just that little tweak means you're not giving the same routine scripted answer. Now, that's because, again, let's focus on the question. You create a better, a well-constructed question that's unique because you're acknowledging the people in the conversation. It's going to lead you into a new place. It's going to lead you to a place that you're having a conversation by virtue of the fact of the synergy of what's there. And that leads you into a place of somewhat deeper connection because you're acknowledging this is not just like every other conversation. When you give the same answer every time, it basically says that the other person in front of you doesn't matter because you're giving the same answer. So if you ask more well-constructed questions that acknowledge the people in the conversation, you're going to have a unique conversation every time. Deeper relationship. Why? Because you're exploring new space.
Mhm.
And the other thing is, in a relationship, any relationship, when we say deeper, to me, I see the roots of a tree are deeper, which means a tree that stands on that deeper connection to earth, the deeper relationship, the stronger connection you have to another, can weather the storm, can weather more discomfort. And that's why I say, sit in the discomfort of the question. That's more important than finding the answer, because the answer can be generic and scripted that you give to everybody. But if you ask quality questions and you sit in the discomfort of asking those questions, you don't necessarily have to answer them. You're building a deeper relationship.
So smart. Can you share a little bit about your book and how that can help?
Yeah. So 12 Questions for Love. It's a guide to intimate conversations and deeper relationships. And it's basically what my team and I have learned from witnessing all these conversations and how to create the space, how to ask well-constructed questions, and gives you the tools and what we've learned of how to do it. Because think about it. Where do we learn how to have quality conversations? I don't know where you learn. You learn basically by doing. So you either model it from your family, right? Or you model in your fan group. And you're modeling your culture. And frankly, our culture just feeds us now with, short dopamine hits, whether it's short text or short TikTok video, whatever. It's like we're being trained for short instead of depth and long. So where do we learn this from? And so for me and my team's offering is, well, we've been learning it from just watching for the last 11 years. People do it. And this is what we've learned. This is what we've distilled down. And that's what's in the book. And we can go deep into what's in the book. But the book is basically an opportunity for you to learn how to ride the bike of how to have deeper conversations, how to sit in the space, how to ask stronger questions, more exploratory questions that lead you into different places and basically reflect your experience of living in a way that you don't get because we're not asking the same old questions.
I think this is so important for people who have been ghosted because they're on high alert. We're on high alert of who are we dating? What do they want? Who are they really and truly? Are they going to ghost me? And by listening with deep curiosity and asking the important questions, you can learn a lot about a person and their character.
Look, what I've learned from doing this, from just witnessing, it's just the power of questions, which is a cliche, but it is so true. We don't realize it's not about the answer. It's about the question you ask. And oftentimes we are not asking our own questions. We're asking questions that society gives you, that you think is normal, that your parents give you, that your friends give you. The more unique question you ask yourself, the more helpful and unique of a life you're going to have, because you're asking yourself different questions. And so when you wake up in the morning and you say, oh shit, I have to do that, or whatever first thought you have, you don't realize that you're actually answering a question. We are answering questions with every thought we speak in our heads or out loud. We're answering a question. But we're so good at focusing on answers and saying these things that we're not realizing we're actually answering a question. So when I wake up in the morning, oh shit, I have to do that. The question was, what shitty thing do I have to do today? What's going to be the hard part of the day? How do I feel about today? Oh, that shitty thing I have to do. If instead you say, wait, stop. I'm going to change it. I know I have a tough day today. I know I got to go do these 5 things. It's tough. Instead, I'm going to say, what am I going to learn from today's challenges? Because the mind is built to protect you. So it's a faithful dog. It's a faithful servant. It will find the answer to any question you ask it. But ask it really good questions that it fetches you quality answers. So if you're asking, why do they ghost me? That faithful dog is going to chase down that stick and bring you 30 sticks, each with the possibility, because they don't like me, because I'm not good enough, because they have this, because this, da, da, da. How many of those sticks, how many of those answers will be constructive for you, will give you a sense of agency and empowerment? Instead, if you ask a different question, don't focus on the answers. focus the question. You go, you know what? I'm not going to ask that question because it's going to fetch me all these sticks that are not helpful. I'm going to change the question. How did I show up in this last relationship that I really enjoyed and want to carry into the next one? Bring back all these sticks. You did this great. You did this great. I did this great. Great. I'm going to kick those sticks to the next relationship. I'm not even concerned about why they ghosted me. Even though I'm not saying that's easy. I'm just saying that's what, when we started this thing about stepping in the train and asked myself a different question. The question shapes the answer. So if you're finding answers that are not making you feel good, that are not empowering you and not constructive and not giving you things to move forward, don't keep asking the same question. Change the question. Change the question.
One question that I had to answer myself was, why do I want to be with somebody? Why am I pining after, longing for, fantasizing, romanticizing about somebody who ghosted me?
Mm-hmm.
That's so hard because I still wanted them back. I still miss them. I had to get to the root of that question.
It's a big question. You know, it's a big one. And what is empty in me that I allow them to fill, and how can I fill it myself?
Right.
You know, tweaking it into that question, because then the second part, how can I fill it myself? Then your mind is searching the sticks, that teaching you how to fill it yourself, and giving you the power, right? Giving you the agency. And so I find that most of my conversations, every time I talk to people, we're trying to look for an answer. I always like, let's go back to the question. Let's construct a better question. You know, let's construct a better question so that the answers will be more constructive for us. Because, you know, a race is shaped by the course it's on. If it's got a lot of curves, the race is going to have a lot of curves. If it's a straight line, it's going to have a straight line. So, like, you know, simple example, if I ask my kids, do you want to go to sleep? Do you want to go to sleep? The answer is either yes or no. But if I say, do you want to sleep on the couch or on the bed? The option to stay up is not an option. The only option is you're on the bed or on the couch. So the question shapes the answer. Focus more on the question. Find really good questions to ask yourself that are going to fetch you the answers, the sticks that are going to be helpful. But I feel you.
Yeah. Is there anything else you'd like to share with listeners about ghosting or being ghosted in general?
I don't know if this is going to sound trivial or something, but the pain you sense, the pain you feel, first of all, it's not you. It's just something you're feeling. So know that. So no, it's not you. It's something you're feeling. It's something that you can pass through. And also, it is the fodder from which you will blossom. That energy of the pain and the hurt means that if you go into it and explore it, there are so many seeds that are yet to blossom to construct the love that you're yearning for and that you will have.
That's beautifully said. Thank you. I love that. How can listeners connect with you and dive into your work?
On social media, we're the Skin Deep. Just look up the Skin Deep on all the social media channels. We're particularly present on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube. And to buy our products is on Amazon or theskindeep.com/shop. And that's basically the best way. I mean, I have my own personal website, but all my work and all our products and all our experiences and all our content is the Skin Deep, theskindeep.com.
Thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you, Greta. Thank you so much.
And listeners, please follow me at Coping with Ghosting on social media. Join my free and private Facebook support group called Coping with Ghosting, and leave a rating for this show. And remember, when you're ghosted, you have more time to connect with yourself and people who have stellar communication skills. You deserve the best.
You're just a ghost to me.
Hey, I'm so excited to tell you about Coping with Ghosting 101. This is my signature program that's going to help you heal, shift your mindset, and find clarity fast. It's under an hour, and you'll learn the healing essentials that you need after being ghosted, from powerful strategies to reframe your experience to ways to help you build your confidence. Plus, I've included a special bonus. There's guided relaxation exercises that will help you feel calm and grounded. This video workshop provides the support and clarity you need to move forward anytime and anywhere. Download Coping with Ghosting 101 today at copingwithghosting.com or click the link in the show notes. Go directly there and start feeling better now.